So I am going to turn this over to Gail, who will introduce our speakers. Thank you, Gail.
Thank you, Lisa. Hi, my name is Gail Gilman, and I work with Harriet Frazier to help plan the PTSA parent education events. If you are new to Samohi, welcome. The parent ed nights are after every monthly PTSA meeting, and a full list of the dates and the topics that we're going to cover this year can be found on the Samohi website. Our program tonight is all about food and nutrition, and I think it's a great topic to kick off this series with. And I'm really excited to announce our guests. The first guest will be Richard Marchini. He is the Food and Nutrition Service Director at SMMUSD. He has been with the district since January of 2018, and he's worked in school food service and nutrition for the past 15 years. Richard is going to give us an overview of both the new cafeteria, share some visuals, and talk about the new menu and new meal plan. And there, good, I see you, Richard, joining. And then after that, there'll be about 10 minutes of questions. And then we're going to be joined by Becky Belinsky. Becky is a licensed marriage and family therapist with a private practice here in Santa Monica, and she specializes in eating disorders, body image, anxiety, and relationships, and she is also a certified intuitive eating counselor. So we're really excited to have her here this year. So each of our presenters will speak 15 or 20 minutes and then have questions, as Elisa outlined. You can put them in the chat, and then we'll curate them at the end. So Richard, I'm happy to see you there, and take it away.
Hi, everybody. Well, thank you for having me. So I'm going to do a little screen share with you guys of kind of what we have going on. So can everybody see the presentation? Let's see.
Yes.
Oh, there we go. Okay. So what we have here is a picture of the serving side of the new cafeteria at Samohi. And it's very different than if any of you have been to the old cafeteria. So it's the way we set it up and we designed it, it's more like a college campus and a food dining hall that you would see there. So because of the different serving style from what you guys are or the children were used to in the elementary and the middle school environment, things are going to seem to take longer. So they may think that the lines are longer, that it takes longer to get through lunch. And we actually timed it yesterday and today, start to finish. I think yesterday was 15 minutes for the first kid to the last kid. And then today was 17 minutes. I stood there with Dr. Shelton and he's like, well, let's see, try to figure it out. So the kids had roughly half a period, left of time before the end of lunch. But because of the style that we're serving and the way we're doing things here, it's taking a lot longer. So less than 50% of the food we're serving is prepackaged or pre-prepped. So for instance, when the kids are coming through the line, you can see here. So for instance, we have a deli bar set up. So if any of you guys have been to a Subway or Bay Cities or something like that, when you're ordering a deli sandwich, it takes a little bit of time. It's not going to be as quick as going to McDonald's where they have everything already queued and ready and waiting for you. So that's kind of what slows things down a bit and makes it seem a bit slower to the children. And most of the food that we're serving there. So for instance, on the left of your screen, you'll see the gentleman, he's grilling all the vegetables we made panini sandwiches today, and then we also used the grilled vegetables for the deli bar where the kids come in. A good amount of our kids are vegetarians and vegans and pescatarians, so it gives them an option besides egg salad and tuna salad and what have you for when they're at the deli bar. So these areas itself take a little bit more time than what most people are used to, especially the kids coming from their environment. They want to get out, play, hang out with their friends and what have you. Even the pizza, what we're doing is we're making it from scratch when we can get right now. As some of you may be aware, there's a global supply chain issue going on. Everything from, school food service programs to Starbucks is having issues getting products and we're in that same boat. So some weeks we're able to actually get the pizza, other weeks we're not able to get the dough to make the pizza. So what we do is, for instance, here you'll see the pizza from one side, from when they put it on the conveyor belt to the other side, is roughly 5 minutes, and we're cooking the pizza as the kids are coming. So we make about 5 pizzas before the kids come, and as the kids are coming through the line, we cook 32 to 35 of them a day. So as the kids are coming through the line, we're constantly making the pizza. It's fresh, within seconds of it coming off the conveyor belt. The ladies and the gentlemen are cutting it and serving it to your children. So it is a lot fresher of a product than they've ever had in the past. In the past, everything was either brought in from Domino's or something that was frozen and recooked on site, and it wasn't cooked like it is now within seconds or minutes of them eating. So like for instance, today when I was there, they told the last few kids, hey, you give me 5 minutes and I'll make you a fresh pepperoni pizza. And the kids are like, oh, sure, what the heck? They waited around, and they were the last 3 kids. So, we gave them a couple of extra slices of pizza because for us, it was, going to go in the trash anyways. So the kids were actually really understanding. And even the same thing with the grill station. So we have a grill station on average, we serve about 150 meals just from there, whether it's the hamburgers, the hot dogs, grilled chicken patties, and we make it all. We prep a few ahead of the time just to kind of give us a heads up. But then, as the kids are coming, we're cooking more hamburgers, we're putting cheese on it, cooking hot dogs, grilling the chicken patties as we go. So it takes a lot more time than what they're used to. Which, and also the other thing we have is the children aren't really used to this campus, nor are we. It's a brand new building for everybody. So the first couple of days we've had some growing pains and fire alarms and all kinds of fun chaos, but we're starting to get it into a groove, and that's what we're hoping. So right now you see the interior grilling station. We actually have an exterior one, which we will potentially be opening up this coming, hopefully, fall. We're right now just waiting on the building department to say, yes, you can set up there. That's kind of what we were waiting on. They have to give us the okay, then the health department has to give us an okay. So, the gas and everything's been stubbed out, but until we get the okay, we can't actually serve out there yet. So eventually we will have a second area for grilling. So hopefully this one will, have less of a line here, more of a line outside. So that's kind of what we have going on here. And then also we have identical hot serving stations on either side. So this just happened to be the day where we're doing Asian food. So it's chicken teriyaki and orange chicken and fried rice and
Richard, sorry, can you flip through the slides so we can see the ones?
Sure.
I think some of the people, another person has said they're not seeing them. Are you moving through your presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, maybe they're just frozen for some people. I don't know.
Can you see them on your end, Gail?
I can only see them on my left-hand column too, but.
Interesting. I can see screen share. Does it give me an option? Hold on, let's see what screen is that.
Yeah, a couple of people are saying they're frozen, but it's okay. Don't worry. We'll figure it out.
Sorry.
They look so good. It looks really good.
Sorry about that. So
okay.
We do have identical items here. So this hot serving station, it actually will change each day. So we have a different theme each day, and we do it identical on each side just to kind of, because it's normally the items that are really popular. So we're trying to spread out the amount of children we have from, throughout the cafeteria. And so that's another issue that's kind of bogged us down a little bit. Is right now we have 3 checkout lanes that we could have open, but right now, because we're in a pandemic, the principal and his staff have decided that we want to limit the amount of children coming in so we can have adequate spacing. So what we've done is we only have the 2 serving lines, so that way we can spread everybody out a bit more. So hopefully as things get better and levels go down and we kind of get out of this pandemic, then we'll be able to have the 3 serving lines plus the grill station outside. So it should get the children through even faster is what we're hoping. And then as things progress, and as the main problem we're also dealing with right now is the supply chain issue, as that gets better, we'll also be able to bring more options online. Right now, we've actually, as strange of a thing as pasta, have been having a hard time just getting dried pasta to cook. So, as as things get better, and we hope there's a light in the end of the tunnel. We were working with our vendors today, and he's like, I've actually seen more shipments this week than I've seen in the past 2 months. So hopefully that's a good thing. And that means we're getting stuff off the docks and to our warehouses for distribution. So eventually we're going to have more menu items, and we're trying to get back into doing some vegan and vegetarian options. A lot of the children were asking when we're going to bring back. We had some of the Beyond Meat burgers, and right now we haven't been able to get those. We have the Kellogg's brand, so the Morningstar Farms, but eventually we'll be able to get back into those. And from there we get the beef crumble and the taco meat, and we can kind of expand our menu more than we have been able to. And I guess that's kind of it for me. I just wanted to kind of say, so the back of the house for this kitchen here that you see, so right now what we see serve at this kitchen from what you saw is roughly anywhere from 650 meals to about 800 on a good day. Well, the back of the house of this site is actually supporting all of our elementary schools in Santa Monica, so about 4,000 meals also a day, and our childcare and adult ed centers at the Obama Center. And so there is a lot more going on than just here. And if you ever do get a chance and we're allowed to have visitors, it would be a great place for you guys to come. And even if you wanted to host a PTA meeting in the cafeteria, it's actually a really, really nice space. So I guess if you have any questions for me, or did you want to wait until the end to do that? Yeah.
No, we can have some questions from
Okay.
you now. Let me see. We've got. I don't see a lot of people, but if you have any questions for Richard, throw them in the chat and we can answer them too later in the FAQ. But it looks awesome, and it's a great idea to have one of our meetings there. Thank you, Richard. That was really helpful.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Oh, someone asked, when is the food
Mhm.
cooked? When is the food cooked for the other schools? When does that happen, that you're cooking all that other food?
So it kind of depends on the items. So for instance, if we're doing spaghetti with a meat sauce, the meat and the sauce will be cooked today and prepared and put together today for tomorrow. And then tomorrow, the pasta in the morning will be cooked and then cooled down and sent to the sites. So we have a blast chiller, basically, where we can bring anything from that's basically a giant, turkey to pasta from, the hot temperature of 450 degrees all the way down to, -10 in about 5 minutes. So we were able to keep the product extremely fresh. So that's kind of what we do when we send stuff around to the sites. So it depends on how simple the product is to cook. So if it's something like pasta, we can do it same day. If it's more complicated, something like making tomato sauce and meat sauce, we'll do it a day ahead.
And someone has asked about the vegan options. So I know you mentioned Morningstar, but are there other vegan and even vegetarian options available now?
So right now, the main brand we have is Morningstar. We have the chicken nuggets, the chicken patties, and we had their beef crumble, but they aren't able to get it to us this week and possibly next. So hopefully we'll eventually be able to get them back probably the following week is what we're hoping. And then we have salads that we make every day. So, and then we do so a lot of the kids that are the vegan children, they'll make it basically a vegetable salad, and they'll add the garbanzo beans to get a protein portion out of it. And then we have tuna fish also for a lot of the sandwiches that we have. And then we also, so I didn't show it in here, but we have a parfait bar where basically we're making yogurt parfaits for the children. We had acai for the first week, and then we haven't been able to get it back since. So hopefully we're able to get that again too. So they'll have another option also with being the yogurt and the acai, or a mixture of the two, so that they can make different kinds of bowls. And then we normally have about 5 or 6 different kinds of fruit for them to put on top with the granola and what have you.
Does that include some fresh fruit too? I just heard you talk about vegetables.
Yes, pretty much every day for the fresh fruit. We always have, apples and bananas and strawberries, peaches, raspberries, and then we have blueberries also. and we're trying to get kiwis, but they haven't been coming in quite the way we want to use them. They come in and it's something, they don't look attractive enough where you'd actually want to serve it. So we'd use it more for like a juice or a smoothie than we would for putting it out like on the parfait bar or the salad bar.
Now, at this point, you're not doing grab and go. I think Shelton said that earlier, but is that going to come next or soon? Or can you talk about that a little bit?
So grab and go in terms of at the campus or for like takeaway like we did during
in the kitchen, I think, like going into the cafeteria and grabbing it and taking stuff away, or having the carts maybe.
So the carts will eventually be coming. Right now, our lovely pandemic has kind of created a little bit of an issue with things. So the fabricators that are actually making the carts for us don't have the materials to make it. They were saying that and we're waiting for metal for a lot of things. I have a kitchen that has no exhaust to it because there's no metal. So I've never heard of it until this year. I'm like, what do you mean there's no metal? That's crazy, but it actually it does happen. So it's insane. So those will be coming, and I do have 2 carts right now that I was able to kind of take from other schools. So we do have 2 carts right now where we're just doing the a la carte items. So like the chips and the pretzels and the cookies and that kind of stuff, I think we have some Izzy's, which is like a sparkling flavored sodas, and some bottles of water for right now. Eventually, we're going to hopefully, once we get the carts and we have more space and we're able to move around, we'll do the grab and go meals on the carts. The other little bit of a hiccup with doing meals on the carts is the Samohi campus. Their goal is to be 100% sustainable and 0 waste. So we're trying to find a way of doing that and using our reusable plates and bowls that we're currently reusing right now. So the options that we have, would be plastic containers, which aren't really environmentally friendly and sustainable. So we're trying to find a way of, we're thinking about possibly ordering stations where if, by each cart, we could have, I guess, a tray return or a plate return, so we can get the plates and bowls back. So that's kind of what I've been working with my vendors to see if anybody has anything that's in stock that I can get relatively soon, so we can try doing that and seeing how it goes. So that's kind of one of the things that we're hoping to be able to do in the future.
Right. So one last question here, I'll just go to the next one, is there a menu available online that the kids can kind of get a sense if they haven't ventured into the cafeteria yet?
There should have been. Yeah, that's another issue I'm trying to work on. So I'm hoping to get that done either tonight or tomorrow, and then to be able to put it up online. I actually realized that this morning when I talked to a mother from Lincoln, and she's telling me, she's like, what menu? And I'm like, okay. I was like, well, so yes, I just have to kind of redo the formatting. Apparently I sent it in the wrong format to our webmaster, and it didn't take on the website, and never said anything to me. And I was like, all right. So I just assume I email it to you, it gets posted, and it's done, until that doesn't happen. I was like, whoops. So I should have it probably once I finish redoing the format, either tonight or sometime tomorrow, up on the website for everybody.
Oh, great. Thank you. That'll be awesome. Well, thank you so much. There's a few more questions. We'll get the answers from you, and then we'll put it in the PDF that we can share with everybody afterwards, like an FAQ. But I really appreciate you joining us and talking about all that. Now I'm just looking for Becky. I know I saw you here. There she is. There's Becky Belinsky. And I'm going to hand it over to you. I'm super excited that you're here and that you're joining the SAMO or SMMUSD community this year.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, let me share my screen too. Let's see. Okay, can you all see this? Great. And I'm just going to test to make sure, also just moving slides when I change it. Can you see that as well?
Great.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, everyone. As Gail said, my name is Becky Belinsky, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and a certified intuitive eating counselor. And I'm so excited to talk to you all tonight about how to help your teens develop a healthy relationship with food and their bodies. I'm really passionate about this subject, and I'm so grateful you all took the time to be here. So to give you just a brief roadmap of where we're going, I'm going to talk a little bit first about eating disorders, what to look out for, and what to be concerned about, what's okay. And then I'll go into the concept of intuitive eating and explain that. And then at the end, there'll be some time for questions. So as I'm talking, if you have questions, you can pop them into the chat like before, and then Gail can read them at the end. So the first thing I want to start with is just acknowledging that being a teen is really hard. There's so much going on with pressures of school, after school activities, and especially all the changes and uncertainty that our teens have had to deal with throughout this pandemic. They're also going through body changes, figuring out who they are, identifying their values, learning how to resist peer pressure, and everything like that. And adolescence is an especially susceptible time for eating disorders and just a complicated time for their relationship with food and body in general. So I'm hoping to be able to give you a framework tonight for how to support your teens as they move through this time of transition. And hopefully we can give them the tools now so they can take care of themselves and make choices so that when they're on their own in college or as adults, they already have a solid foundation to pull from. So the biggest goal that I work on with teens is to help them learn to accept their body and make choices about food and exercise that come from a place of taking care of themselves and what feels good, instead of dieting, trying to control their body, depriving themselves, or making decisions that come from a place of not being good enough or self-punishment. I work really closely with a lot of nutritionists in my work as a therapist, and pretty much all of them say the same thing, which is that your relationship with food is actually so much more important than the actual food itself. So today we'll talk a little bit about how your teens can do this and what you can do to support them. And one of the best ways to do this is by promoting something called intuitive eating. So I'm going to go into depth through all the principles later, but just a brief overview. Intuitive eating is a model created by 2 dietitians for developing a healthy relationship with food and body. And it's really important and applies to everybody. It's especially important for people who are struggling with eating disorders, because they already sort of need that extra support. But I really think it's important for everyone to learn, especially because of the culture we live in. We all get so many messages around food and body and a lot of confusing ones. And I find that everyone has a little bit of a complicated relationship with food nowadays. So this is a really helpful framework to go from. So I'm just going to give a really brief overview of eating disorders. And I think about eating disorders as being on a spectrum. So all the way on the left, there's clinically diagnosable eating disorder, which includes things like anorexia, bulimia, binge eating disorder. And a new one is called orthorexia, which is basically an unhealthy obsession with healthy eating. And then next to that, there's disordered eating, and even dieting is something that I consider on the spectrum. And then the opposite end, a healthy relationship would be intuitive eating. And while getting a formal eating disorder diagnosis is important for people who are suffering, any type of disordered eating or dieting is concerning, and to me signifies that your teen might be struggling with food or with their body. So if you notice your teen dieting, exercising more, or seeming uncomfortable with their body, they might need some extra support. So eating disorders are life-threatening mental illnesses, and they're unfortunately really common in adolescence. And most people's eating disorders start in their teen years or in the transition to college or adulthood. Some research has shown that by age 10, 50% of children are already afraid of being fat, and that between 1 and 2/3 of adolescent girls have gone to extreme measures to try to lose weight. So there's so much to talk about with eating disorders, but one of the main points I want to get across tonight is that eating disorders affect people of all sizes, genders, races, etc. They really affect everyone. There's a myth that eating disorders only affect girls, or that it's only concerning if someone is skeletally thin, but this is just not true. And this misconception is really dangerous because it can cause us to miss people who might really be struggling. The truth is that eating disorders affect all people, including men, trans, and gender expansive people. And actually, the overwhelming majority of people with eating disorders are not thin. Some research has shown that only 9% of people with eating disorders are considered medically underweight. So if you take one thing away about eating disorders tonight, I hope it's that you can't tell if someone has an eating disorder based on how they look. People could be fat and still struggling with anorexia. So instead, I try to encourage people to pay attention to what the person is doing with food and how they're feeling rather than how they look. So some eating disorder signs are dieting, trying to lose weight, controlling food, obsessive exercise, social withdrawal, body image issues and frequent body checking, which might be like looking in the mirror, fidgeting with clothing, pinching their stomach, things like that. Mood swings, irritability, excessive tiredness. That doesn't make sense in other contexts, like if they pulled an all-nighter or something like that. And then some physical signs include noticeable weight fluctuations. And again, not always, but that if you're noticing that a lot and very frequent, that might be cause for concern. Gastrointestinal complaints, dizziness upon standing, difficulty concentrating or sleeping, and issues with dental, skin, hair, and nail health. So eating disorders affect almost 1 in 10 people throughout their lifetimes, but it's estimated that 1 in 2 people struggle with disordered eating. So disordered eating is when someone might not meet the full criteria for an eating disorder, but they still struggle with a lot of the same behaviors, thoughts, or feelings. So there are similar signs, but this might include dieting, controlling body size, counting calories, excessive or rigid exercise, like not being able to take a day off or feeling stressed if their routine gets thrown off, avoiding certain foods, cutting out entire food groups, body image concerns, labeling food as good or bad, or needing to burn off or make up for eating food, overvaluing appearance, which means their appearance really affects their mood and how they feel about themselves as a person, and avoiding activities because of appearance or food. And many people with disordered eating do go on to develop an eating disorder, but even if they don't, disordered eating still damages physical and mental health, so it's important to take seriously. Okay, so now that I've given you an overview of what to look out for if you're concerned that your teen might have an unhealthy relationship with food, I want to talk about how you can help your teen have a healthy one, or just still make that foundation so they don't go on to struggle later in life. So regardless of whether or not you're worried about your child having an eating disorder or disordered eating, the ideas of intuitive eating and health at every size can help your teen and their relationship with food and their body. Health at Every Size is a social justice framework that asserts that people of all sizes deserve respect and the opportunity to pursue health. So the main goal of Health at Every Size is to move away from focusing on weight and appearance. It's a framework that's backed by research, and it gets away from focusing on weight and weight loss as the main goal, and actually towards focusing on what really can impact our health in positive ways. So health at every size is such an important concept and a really complex one. I could do a whole presentation just on this. So I'm just going to give you a really brief overview, but I'll include some resources later. And if you have more questions, I would love to talk more about it. So when it comes to weight, a lot of people get stuck on the concern that not focusing on weight loss will negatively affect their health. And this is a really understandable concern, but the research actually shows that focusing on weight loss doesn't improve health outcomes in the long run. So the first key concept of health at every size is that weight stigma or weight bias, which is discrimination based on body size, is harmful. Weight stigma is associated with increased anxiety and depression, eating disorders, and it harms people's physical health too. And people in larger bodies are often denied medical care or dismissed by doctors, which is really dangerous and life-threatening. Another key point is that weight is actually not as directly connected to health as we think. Health is so much more complex than just the number on the scale, and people really can be healthy and pursue health no matter their size. Health is actually determined primarily by factors that are outside of our control, the biggest being genetics, but it also includes things like our environment, financial stability, structure, having access to healthy food and places to play and exercise, and many more things. And actually only 30% of our health outcomes are influenced by what they call individual health behaviors, which are the things we actually can control. And these include things like managing stress, reducing smoking and alcohol, getting enough sleep, eating fruits and veggies, getting enough exercise. And the main point of Health at Every Size is that we can focus on these things irrespective of weight loss and still improve our health. And lastly, weight loss actually doesn't work. So focusing on it doesn't actually make sense if you look at the research. Research shows that upwards of 95% of people who diet will fail and gain back the same weight or more within 1 to 5 years. And this is not because of a lack of willpower. Our bodies are actually designed to resist weight loss and keep us at a stable weight. That's why so many people have these fluctuations where the diet works at first and then they gain it back and then they feel bad about themselves. And this idea of like a maintenance phase is pretty much unattainable. And there's so much research about this that I'm happy to share, but the main point I hope you get is that it's actually not in our control. So if we fail, we shouldn't feel bad about it, and we should find other ways to try to work on our health. Okay, so like I said, that's a lot of information that I just threw at you. And probably there's a lot of information there that contradicts what you've learned about weight and health. And I know that this can be a really tricky subject for so many people. And so like I said, I'm so happy to provide more resources or talk through some of these things later on. So what can you as parents do about all of this? This brings us to intuitive eating. So intuitive eating is an evidence-based model for developing a healthy relationship with food, movement, and body. Like I said before, intuitive eating is created by 2 dietitians, and they were really noticing, it was in the 90s or the 80s, and they realized that they were, trying to help people with weight loss and it wasn't working and people were feeling really bad about themselves. So they really looked into the research and their own experience and came up with intuitive eating as an alternative to focusing on diets and weight loss. And it instead emphasizes developing an intuitive sense of what you need and increasing self-trust instead of relying on external cues such as diets or food rules. Intuitive eating is an essential component of all types of eating disorder treatment, and it has so many positive mental health benefits, even for people who may not have an eating disorder but struggle with disordered eating. It's been shown in numerous studies to be correlated with increased levels of body appreciation, self-esteem, satisfaction with life, and lower levels of eating disorder symptoms, body shame, less internalization of media appearance ideals, and less depression and anxiety. They've also seen a lot of physical health benefits. So people who practice intuitive eating have a stable weight, which actually improves our health. Weight cycling, so losing and gaining weight over and over again, is actually really bad for our health. On a bunch of metrics, intuitive eating has also shown improved health outcomes, even if someone gains weight or doesn't lose weight. People who practice intuitive eating end up eating a variety of foods in a balanced way. And a new study actually just found that people who practice intuitive eating end up eating more fruits and vegetables than the average population. So this is the newest edition of Intuitive Eating, the book, and those are the 2 dietitians, Evelyn Tripoli and Elise Resch. And these are the 10 principles, and I'm going to go through each pretty quickly. Again, there's so much more for this, but I'm just going to give you an overview. So the first principle of intuitive eating is to reject the diet mentality. Like I already mentioned, diets don't work. Diets offer false hope of losing weight permanently, but there's not a single study that shows that diets actually work long-term. Getting rid of the diet mentality is essential to being able to practice intuitive eating. The second principle is honor your hunger. So instead of relying on diets or external ideas about when and how much to eat, practice paying attention to and honoring what you're actually craving and how much you need to eat to feel full. You can trust your body, and your body knows exactly what you need. Eating less than you need will trigger a primal drive to eat quickly and past fullness. Make peace with food. Give yourself unconditional permission to eat. If you tell yourself that you can't have a certain food, this will lead to deprivation, uncontrollable cravings, binging, and guilt. You'll have a Last Supper mentality, which is, the diet starts tomorrow, so I better eat all the ice cream I can tonight. And this sets you up for a binge restrict cycle. With unconditional permission, no food is off limits. So when you allow yourself to eat it whenever you want it, it becomes less exciting and the binging will stop. Another important principle is challenge the food police. So the food police is the opposite of unconditional permission to eat. And often the food police could be someone else in our lives, but it's often in our own heads. So reject thoughts that you're good for eating salad or bad for eating cake. Get rid of the idea of food rules and cheat days. The idea of only eating a small portion, not eating in the evening, only eating dessert one time a week are old rules from diets. They're not actually true, and they're going to get in the way of you being able to listen to your body. Respect your fullness. Pay attention to your internal signals to tell you when you're full instead of portion sizes or counting calories. Learn to listen to your body instead of needing to finish your plate if you're no longer hungry. Discover the satisfaction factor. Pay attention to how food tastes and what you actually enjoy. If you eat an apple when you really feel like eating a cookie, you're not going to be satisfied. Use pleasure and taste to make decisions about food instead of diets or rules. You can trust your body. Another important one is honor your feelings. So if you use food to manage emotions, find other ways to take care of yourself and actually learn to feel and process your feelings without turning to food. Most people naturally manage their feelings better when they're practicing intuitive eating because they're not restricting food. Respect your body. Accept your genetic blueprint. Body size diversity is normal and wonderful. Just like people have different shoe sizes and heights, people are not meant to be all the same size. Body image work happens internally, not externally. So changing your body might make you feel better in the short term, but it never lasts. It won't help in the long term. But working on your beliefs and your relationship with your body will help you feel better. And one I love is joyful movement. So move your body in a way that feels good for you. Forget the idea that you need to be miserable in the gym for exercise to count. When you listen to your body about what feels good, you will move your body more consistently and you'll actually enjoy it. So playing with your kids, cleaning the house, walking the dog, practicing yoga, these are all forms of joyful movement. And lastly, honor your health through gentle nutrition. So the last principle is last for a reason. We can't think about nutrition unless we get rid of the diet mentality, food rules, shame, guilt, and self-criticism. If you practice intuitive eating, you will naturally eat a balanced diet with a variety of foods. So we actually don't have to consciously pay that much attention to it. But we can gently and flexibly pay attention to making sure that you get the basics, enough carbohydrates, protein, fats, fruits, and veggies. And that's definitely part of intuitive eating. But it's a much more flexible approach. And it's remembering that no single food is bad for you unless you're allergic to it or it's gone rotten or spoiled. And being less scared about food and remembering that one meal, one day, or even 1 month of eating isn't going to hurt you. So like I said, that's just a brief overview. There's whole books and workbooks dedicated to intuitive eating and people who specialize in helping you figure this stuff out. So if you want to learn more, there's plenty of resources. So just going back to now you have this information, what can you as parents do? And I would say the biggest things are you can model a healthy relationship with food. So if you are practicing intuitive eating and speaking to yourself kindly, your kids are going to see that and they're going to do the same. You can teach them explicitly about intuitive eating and health at every size. You can also emphasize how your teen feels instead of how they look. And you can watch their shows with them, ask them what they're watching on TikTok and social media, and talk to them about the messages that they're getting and teach them social media literacy, which basically means how to tell if the information they're getting online is trustworthy or not and where it's coming from. I've unfortunately seen a lot of teens in my practice recently that have learned really wrong and harmful nutrition information from TikTok this year. And so much of our media tells teens that their appearance is the most important thing about them. So you can help them see that how they look actually really doesn't matter in terms of their relationships or the things that are important about them and their values and their personality, how they treat people, their actions are way more important. So just wrapping up, a couple key takeaways that I hope you remember is that any type of dieting or trying to lose weight is concerning for teens. No one needs to diet and lose weight, but especially teens should be staying on their growth chart curve. They really shouldn't be losing weight. They need to be growing and gaining weight. And health at every size is a scientific framework that asserts that weight is not connected to health and people of all sizes deserve respect. Intuitive eating is an evidence-based model for having a healthy relationship with food and body, and it results in improved mental and physical health, and that both you and your teen can trust your bodies. So a couple of resources, and I'm happy to send out more with the Q&A, but there's the National Eating Disorder Association, which has a great website and tons of resources if you're worried that your teen might have an eating disorder or disordered eating. There's the book Intuitive Eating, and they actually wrote a specific intuitive eating workbook for teens that came out last year that I love. The book Body Respect by Lindo Bacon is a great introduction to health at every size. You can seek support from a therapist or a dietitian who specializes in eating disorders or intuitive eating. And then I'm also going to be running an intuitive eating group at the high school this year. So if you want your teen to join that or think they might benefit, that's something you can ask about. And now a little bit of time for questions, and here's my information. I'll leave it up there. Like I said, if anyone has specific questions or wants to follow up afterwards, I will answer any outstanding questions in the Q&A, but I'm always happy to talk more.
Thank you, Becky. That was awesome. So there's a couple questions. How are you running this group that you mentioned at SAMO, and when will it meet?
Yes, so I'm still sorting out the details, but I'm going to be coming to the school once a week. It's going to be a 10-week group, and hopefully starting the beginning of October. And I'm going to be working with Julie and the other people at the school. I think they're going to sort of identify which students might benefit from the group, and suggest it to them and to the parents. And then it's going to be a closed group, and I'm going to be both sort of having some mental health, more therapy pieces, and then also going through the intuitive eating model in a little more depth, but similar to what I did today.
Okay, great. A question's come in. How is the school helping kids with eating disorders if they really don't even have enough time to eat when lunch is 35 minutes for 3,000 kids? That seems like a high pressure situation that can't be helpful.
Yeah, definitely. So, I'm not directly connected with the school. I'm just contracting with them. So I don't have a specific answer for that. But I agree, like that can definitely be a challenge, especially I've heard from so many teens that, yeah, they don't have time, or that like if their friends aren't sitting down to eat, there's a lot of adrenaline going on. So I can't actually address the school question. I think that would be great to direct to the appropriate people at the school. But I would say as parents, that's a great thing to bring up and talk directly, with your teen if you're noticing they're not eating or they're saying they don't have time to eat, to try to see if there's something that the school can do or that you can do to make sure they're getting that time.
I also heard from Dr. Shelton that there are at least 25 tables, maybe, at least I don't know if you heard that, but like tables and chairs that haven't come in already too. So there'll be more space to sit. It'll be a more relaxing environment, because right now there's, the crowds and the lines, but I think they're sorting it out, and there's a lot more, seating area that's still to come.
Yeah.
Also, there's a question, a nutrition break is non-existent. Do you recommend those? Is that something that helps with your students who
Yeah, a nutrition break,
practice
like
intuitive
a
eating?
snack or something in the middle of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't know, like I said, about SAMO and sort of the school structure. I would say that typically when I'm working with people who are trying to recover and like have a more structured, consistent eating, we do suggest kind of eating every 2 to 3 hours, or eating 3 meals and 3 snacks a day. So I would say if they're not eating from breakfast, at 6 or 6:30 until lunch, I don't know what time lunch is, that probably getting a snack in the middle there would be helpful. And I will just say, again, I don't know the logistics of the school because I'm not in charge of that. And it would be wonderful if the school, could be supportive of that. But I think this goes back to my point of kind of trying to help your kids develop ways to take care of themselves, because when they're out in the real world, there may not always be those built-in options. So it's helping them kind of build the scaffolding to know, like, I need to take a break. I need to find a way to get myself to eat, even if I'm busy and feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah. Thank you. And maybe it's something that we can, take up with Richard and some of the groups or some of the administrators there, because I do think it's important.
Yeah.
Here's a question that's come in. Based on your studies, what would be the appropriate time for lunch?
Oh, that's a good question. So there really isn't a specific time. It's less about like the time of day and more what I said, kind of the 3 meals, 3 snacks. So it's flexible, but that typically is like breakfast within a couple hours of waking up, then a snack a couple hours later, then lunch a few hours after that, snack sometime in the afternoon, dinner, and then dessert or a snack before bed.
I know that kids are allowed, just back to the other point, I know kids are allowed to have water and water bottles with them. So that's good. And maybe they can, ask their teachers too, if they had, can bring snacks if they, are getting hungry, but
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's most of the questions that we got. I'm sure that when people see the video of this presentation, there'll be lots more questions, and as people learn about you and hear more about the work that you're doing too, I think it's really amazing that they've brought you on board to work with students in this way.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm really
After
excited.
last year, mental health issues of all types, and this one in particular, I know, became kind of epidemic. So anyway, thank you for your time there.
Thank you.
So thank you everybody else for coming. Elisa, do you have other things that you want to say? I'll hand it back to you.
No, thank you everyone for coming. Our next association meeting is scheduled for 7 p.m. on Tuesday, October 12th, but I want everyone to know there will be a very important College and Career Center presentation. We used to call it FAFSA night. It's expanded. It's financial aid, it's college app information. They will send that in. The College and Career Center is going to be reaching out to all of your students via their counselors, via their Naviance. Have those seniors check that Naviance, the website. We'll be sending it out through Samohi News, but October 12th is going to be a big night for parents of seniors, helping you get through, navigate the new application and financial aid system. But thank you everyone for coming.
Thank you, Elisa. Bye-bye.